Hey boys and girls, today we are going to learn how to add and subtract fractions with like denominators. When I say like denominators, what that means is that the denominator in two fractions is the same. We're going to add those together. So if I have 3/10 plus 5/10, these are very easy to add together. Anytime you are adding a fraction and the denominators are the same, you add the numerators and you keep that same denominator. Because it's like taking two pizzas that are cut into 10 pieces, taking 3 from one pizza and 5 from the other pizza. Well, how many pieces of pizza would you have all together? You would have 8 pieces of pizza, but still each is out of 10 pieces. So we do 8/10 and we keep that denominator the same. The last step we're going to have to do in order to complete this problem is we have to divide the numerator and the denominator to get them to their simplest form. Another way of saying that is lowest terms. You might have also heard the word reduce. All those mean the same thing, in that we are trying to get 8/10 into its simplest form, as low as the numbers can go, finding equivalent fractions. So 8 and 10 are both even, so I'm going to divide by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So it is 4/5 is my final answer. Okay. So there are 3 basic steps when you are adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. Number 1, you're going to add the numerators. Number 2, you're going to write the like denominator. And number 3, you are going to write the sum, or the answer, in simplest form. I'm going to hold these steps up. If you want to pause your video and write them down, you are welcome to do that. Hold them up here for just a minute. But certainly feel free to pause the video if you need more time to write these down. That's kind of the really cool thing about these videos, is that if you need to slow things down, you can. Okay. So now it's just a matter of practicing. To me, the thing that's probably the most, I don't want to say complicated, but the hardest thing about this is just remembering to put them into simplest form and finding what that simplest form is. So if I have 1/4 plus 2/4, that's easy. 1 plus 2 is 3. The 4 stays the same. That is already in simplest form. So 3/4 is the final answer. The more you work with fractions, the more you're going to recognize which fractions are already in simplest form and which ones need to be converted. You could even do this if you have 3 fractions, as long as they all have the same denominator. You could do 1/10 plus 2/10 plus 4/10. And if I add 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7. So that would give me 7/10. Is there anything I can divide 7 and 10 by to get those numbers to be smaller? There is not. So 7/10 is in simplest form, and is my final answer. I'm sorry, I keep yawning. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to try to find another one that has us in simplest form, and then we'll do some subtraction. All right, so 2/9 plus 1/9. So 2 plus 1 equals 3, so it's 3/9. You may think that that's already in simplest form, because a lot of times we look at these fractions and say, oh, they're not even, so they don't have anything in common. But that's not true. 3 and 9 have something in common. They have 3 in common, which means that you can divide both of them by 3. And if you forget how to find what they have in common, you're finding your greatest common factor. So you can always list the factors to find what they have in common. But 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 3/9 in simplest form is 1/3. So that is my final answer. Okay, so the same thing can be done with subtracting fractions with like denominators. The steps are the same. Instead of add the numerators, you're going to subtract the numerators. So if I have 7/8 minus 3/8, I'm going to subtract 7 minus 3, and I'm going to get 4. And I'm going to keep the denominator, so that is 4/8. Is 4/8 in lowest terms? It is not. So I am going to divide by 4, because they both have 4 in common. Yes, I could divide by 2, but I would have to divide by 2 again, because 4 is the greatest common factor. So my answer becomes 1/2. I like to circle my final answer so that I know that I've gotten as far as I can go. I can do 9/10 minus 2/10. And 9 minus 2 is 7. My 10 stays the same. We already talked about how 10 and 7 do not have anything in common. So that is my final answer, 7/10. If we were in class at this point, I would have you try a few on your own and give you the answers. What I'm going to do is assign you a few problems in the assignment and have you try them, and we'll go from there. I think this is a pretty easy lesson, so I don't think we'll have a problem being able to move on tomorrow to improper fractions, which will be a great lesson to do on our Zoom meeting. So we'll do improper fractions tomorrow on our Zoom meeting. We'll correct the ones that you do on this just to make sure everybody is on the same page. And that'll be a great way to do our Zoom meeting tomorrow. So another nice easy lesson for the start of the week. I hope everybody's doing well. I miss you very, very much. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Zoom.